In medical colleges will come under the ambit of NEET. The state governments will get an option to either conduct their own exam or to go for NEET to fill up their quota of seats. However, for postgraduate courses, the exam will be held under NEET for the 2017-18 session, and that will be in December this year. And that's what the ordinance on the National Eligibility-cum-Entrance Test implies. Here's our report.
President Pranab Mukherjee has signed the ordinance exempting state governments from holding the National Eligibility-cum-Entrance Test for undergraduate medical and dental admissions this year. No such relaxation will, however, be available to private medical colleges. The President signed the ordinance after he was fully convinced it did not go against the Supreme Court order. These clarifications were given by the Attorney General and the Health Ministry. The ordinance amends the Indian Medical Council Act 1956 and says that NEET will be universal from 2017-18 for both undergraduate and postgraduate admissions. A year's relaxation is being granted only to state governments to address their concerns over variance in CBSE and state board syllabi and difference in the language in which the central test is held.
NEET has been implemented, and through this ordinance, it has been given a statutory basis. The government of India was very clear right from very beginning and was in favor of NEET.
The Supreme Court in April and again on 9th May had given the green signal for the CBSE to hold the National Eligibility-Entrance Test 2016-17 in two phases, 1st May and July 24th. More than 6 lakh students appeared for NEET under the first phase on 1st May. However, with apprehensions being raised by some states which had not placed their cases adequately before the apex court, the issue of NEET echoed in Parliament. The concerned states approached the centre with their problems, and an all-party meeting was convened on 16th May to discuss the issue. Most states expressed their favour of NEET in principle, but had some logistical issues in implementing it from the current year. These included non-CBSE candidates would be disadvantaged by NEET as there was little time for students to bridge the difference between the state board and the central curriculum. The absence of regional language options meant non-English or Hindi-speaking students would find it difficult to score well in the NEET. Taking these practical difficulties on board and after discussions with all stakeholders, the government came out with the ordinance. The ordinance does not affect NEET Phase 2, which is due to be held on July 24th. 6 states and 1 union territory are already participating in the NEET this year. However, certain states have deferred the NEET exam. These include West Bengal, Chhattisgarh and Andhra Pradesh. All states have the option to join NEET or get exempted for a year. This means state government-run medical colleges through the ordinance can admit students to their quota of 85% seats per college through state exams this year. The 15% seats of central quota will still be filled through NEET. All private colleges will come under NEET irrespective of the ordinance. State government seats in private institutions will also have exemption for the current year. States of Tamil Nadu and Puducherry do not conduct an examination for entrance to their medical and dental colleges and instead admit students on the basis of marks obtained at Class 12 examinations for their state government admissions in these states for the current year shall be as per present procedure being adopted by these two states. The need for an ordinance arose since the Supreme Court is in vacation presently and both houses of Parliament have adjourned sine die.
जब ये decision आया, तो Parliament was towards the end, and the matter was very urgent because the students had to appear for the examination, and the states were raising their issues, and they were consulting us, and they wanted a clarification on this.
In December, the post-graduation examination for 2017-18 session will be held under NEET provisions. The ordinance reaffirms that the centre is committed to implementing the National Eligibility-cum-Entrance Test as per the apex court's order, but has looked for ways to accommodate the genuine concerns of the states for just this 1 year. Newsnight Desk, DD News.
Well, and to discuss the implications of the National Eligibility-cum-Entrance Test, the ordinance there, we have with us in the studio Professor J.S. Rajput, Senior Educationist, former Director of NCERT, and Dr. Bipin Batra is the Executive Director of the National Board of Examinations. We'll start with you, Dr. Batra. Now, the concerns raised by the states of language, of syllabi difference, in the long run, how is this addressed by, a common exam?
I think firstly, let me congratulate all the nearly 1 million plus students who have been eagerly awaiting this news.
Right.
And considering this year's peculiar position, 6.5 lakh candidates in 5 states had already appeared for their entrance examination, the PMT. And it would have been very unfair for them to have written one more examination.
Okay.
And in the long run, this will have a cascading effect on improving the quality, building up faith between the society and the doctors, and of course having overall improvement in the ways the students will continue to prepare, because now they have one exam to look forward to.
Right. Professor Rajput, the CBSE, do students of the CBSE have an advantage, would you say, compared to the other boards? Because the CBSE is conducting the NEET as well.
Well, there are 2 points which should be discussed on this. CBSE, those students who study the CBSE syllabus, they have an advantage. But all state boards were supposed to be restructuring their syllabi on par with CBSE.
Okay.
When NCERT was established, this was the basic intention, that students from any particular state should not be put to disadvantage as compared to other states. There should be some type of uniformity, equivalence, not exactly uniformity, but there should be no disadvantage. Now, this particular decision, which has been welcomed by one and all,
right,
is makes it also implicit on the part of state boards to ensure that their syllabi are not at the lower level, because that way they are putting their students in the disadvantageous position. This is not the only competition, for other purposes also.
Sure.
So, to me, this is one of the finest things that has happened, and this issue that has emerged must be looked after by state governments, and NCERT certainly should be able to help in this particular aspect.
Dr. Batra, how different will the NEET exam be, let's say, from a CBSE, PCMB sort of discipline that people take? Because, when one looks at the marks that people are getting in the CBSE, they're all like 99 point something, and that's like in other boards, they don't get those kind of marks. So people are concerned, well, from the point of view of an examination that evaluates the potential of a potential doctor rather than, high scoring.
I think the integration of the curriculum of the PMT examination, or for that matter any entrance examination, with the baseline eligible qualification is very much essential, which means over a period of time the syllabus for the entrance examination as well as the syllabus of the 10+2 should match with each other, so that the students are not put to undue stress while preparing for 2 different curricula.
Okay. Professor Rajput, when we look overall, everyone has been in favor of NEET, but then we now have this ordinance. Now, the ordinance is giving the states an option.
Yes.
Now, supposing, I'm just saying, that most of the states say, okay, let us continue with our particular state curriculum for 1 year. I mean, we are going to, would that in a sense, put pressure on the NEET process?
No, it will not, because it has been accepted in the ordinance also that next
year it has to be that, because the Supreme Court has passed the judgment. Yes.
And I am very pleased about it that this thing has been done. Otherwise, the credibility of the medical education system has gone down, and all of us accept that. Now, this will restore the credibility, find out more alternatives, and so far as this point Dr. Batra has made is very important. The syllabi of any competitive examination must harmonize with what students actually study in 10+2, and every board has to also this responsibility that their syllabi should not be lower as compared to other syllabi. So, CBSE is one standard, NCERT prepares a syllabi for the CBSE, accepts it.
Okay.
And with minor changes, state boards can bring in local element of the curriculum, but the equivalence should not be diluted.
I come back to that question about, a person from a regional background, being brought up in a particular language. Does that person have a sort of disadvantage in an examination like this, which is going to be conducted in only 2 languages?
No, I think there's a way around that. And over a period of time, the issue of multiple languages is going to be addressed by CBSE, which is the exam conducting body for 10+2 PMT.
Okay.
Because when the CBSE conducted the NEET for the first time in 2013, it was conducted in vernacular languages as well. This time there has been a peculiar problem because of the paucity of time.
So you mean from the next year and from the future years, there will be the language problem will be sorted out?
Absolutely.
No, but there is another issue also. even if CBSE conducts examination all the regional languages, the major issue is when they get into the medical, they all study through English medium.
Right.
So this language proficiency will be necessary. This is one alternative. The other alternative is that are you ready to teach in the regional language in the medical courses? We are not ready.
Okay.
So this has to be examined by the states and at other levels also. How do you tackle this? The disadvantage doesn't confine only to the examination level.
Okay.
It goes later on also.
Does the examination for NEET, would it encourage, let's say, these coaching classes which are causing a problem, let's say in quota, for instance, we have the incident of students committing suicide. Will this also add to that burden, or will it lessen it to some extent?
I think the generalized phobia is encashed by this coaching industry, and it has come up in a very big way in the country. And the entire educational institutions, the teachers, the institution, the parents have to gear up and ensure that the children do not fall prey to this coaching mafia. Because the children of our country are bright, they are absolutely brilliant, they can do very well. In fact, if we analyze the top rankers in any entrance examination, and if you see their methodology, they have self-studied themselves, and they have been groomed up well with their schools and local environments. Sure. So it's not the coaching industry which makes all the difference.
Professor Rajput, when students are getting marks of 99 plus, there is an added pressure on them, to perform in these entrance exams, etc. Does that, is that, with the kind of marks that people are getting in the CBSE, is that some sort of a disadvantage, or not a disadvantage, but a pressure on the students?
See, I will tell you, after 2005, 2006, CBSE was under tremendous pressure in the name of reduce the curriculum load on children. So they went on diluting things, and this 99% phenomena is the result of that dilution. Now, it is the implicit on the part of the paper setters and curriculum developers. First, to harmonize the curriculum of the entrance examination and what they study in +2, number one. And number two, those who are setting the papers, they should find out ways and means how to counterbalance the growth of coaching institutions. They can.
Okay.
I have been in the field and I headed the NCERT. I know this.
Sure.
It can be done. So, if all these three elements sit together, I think, and generated confidence amongst parents and students that if you study well in 11th and 12th, you will be able to compete properly. I think it will reduce the dependence on coaching institutions.
So finally, Dr. Batra, then from next year onwards, NEET takes precedence. This year, I mean, it is there. The government is implementing the Supreme Court order, but people have the option.
I think this has been the single biggest reform which has been talked about in the last decade. For the last 10 years, the medical education sector has been struggling for this kind of a reform. And this has come now by way of an amendment to the Act. Now, NEET is a part of the law of the land. It has been introduced by way of Section 10D in the Act itself. And earlier it was introduced by way of executive order in the regulation. So that is a very big change. It's a platform shift. And NEET means in the country we have now the NEET at the 10+2 for entry to the MBBS and BDS courses. Then we have NEET at the MBBS level for entry to all the MD/MS postgraduate diploma programs. And post BDS, all the MDS programs are going to be through NEET. And post MD/MS, all the DM/MCH programs are going to be through NEET.
We leave it there.
It will also impact the curriculum development and syllabi and teaching pedagogy at +2 stage in all the institutions.
So there are numerous advantages as we have been discussing. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us here on Newsnight.